It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show! Hey everybody, it's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey gang.
Les Webster.
Hello all.
And Liz Newman.
Hi everybody.
How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great.
Groovy.
I survived.
It's over.
Or is it? Dun-dun-dun. I guess it is. I don't know.
Plot twist.
Well, I hope everybody out there had a good Christmas and is enjoying with if they're off between the holidays. I hope they're having a nice time off. Or if they had to go back to work, then hey, just a couple more days and you'll be off again and all that. So, what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Well, this week I got some comics, but it's not what you think. I actually somehow managed, by blind luck, to get in like the loot from 3 different Kickstarters within just a few weeks of each other.
Cool.
So I've been working on reading those. So I have a book called Simon Blood, which turns out is a volume 1. I was not aware of this when I bought it, but that's all right. It's still pretty cool. It's kind of a fantasy thing. This kid Simon, his friend, girlfriend, he's not sure, has been kidnapped because the queen's daughter needs a new heart, and so he's trying to chase them down and get his girlfriend back, and hijinks ensue. So fun little fantasy story. The second one is a book called Queen. This is an issue 2 of 4. This is a kind of a political thriller type thing set in the UK. Pretty fun stuff. This member of the cabinet, the Prime Minister's cabinet, kind of randomly gets shipped this cell phone, which she opens this package and the phone starts ringing and the voice on the other end is promising her that she'll be Prime Minister soon. So kind of fun to see how that turns out, or how that's going to happen.
I was expecting you to say that the person on the other line is "Have you checked the children?" But oh well.
I think that's a different book, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
And the third one is called Amiculus, and this is actually on this one. This is the omnibus of 3 volumes of stuff, all stuck together, which is pretty cool. It is historical fiction set at the fall of Rome, specifically about the fall of Rome. So cool, fun, dramatic stuff, neat art, very pretty.
Cool.
Well, I made it by to pick up my comics, and being on the road, I was actually able to read quite a few of them. So I know you guys have talked about White Knight a lot before I joined you guys, but I am really digging that story. I mean, I think it's something that the Batman line has needed for quite some time. It's a different story. It's kind of one of those what ifs, and it's just been really great. I know the 4th one's coming out, so we're halfway through it, but I've really liking that one. But also another one that surprised me was the Jetsons. My son was like, hey, I want to read this. Well, when he got done reading it, and I was kind of thumbing through it, and it's kind of neat because it answers a lot of the things we didn't know about the Jetsons, like why do they live up in the sky instead of on the ground, But it's different than the cartoon because, like, Rosie's their grandmother, which, he asked me, was that the way it was? And it's like, no. Rosie was found in a junkyard and became part of the family, so that one's kind of been an interesting read, too. But the best one I think I read was that Klaus. Every time I turned the page, just the artwork, the way the story was going, it blew me away. So I'm really enjoying that one and can't wait for the second issue. But this one, there was a lot of pages. I'm not for sure the exact count on those, but it's like a harder cover than a normal comic book, and the pages are a lot thicker than a normal comic book. So it's just kind of a whole different reading experience for me. It was like reading more of a trade, But this is the second storyline for him, and if you didn't read the first story, you don't really have to know what happened, because the second story does great about picking up and starting completely fresh and doesn't really touch on that backstory too much. So, but yeah, that's what I did. Like I said, I'm really enjoying the current comics. Seems like they crank out their best stuff at the end of the year.
Weird how that works.
Yeah. I guess get those last numbers in.
That's kind of like year with movies. The ones that they think are going to be Oscar worthy. That's when they start throwing them out.
Yeah.
In December, so they can.
Because they're fresher in people's minds when the voting starts.
Yep, exactly.
It's also kind of where the whole mid-season finale bullshit thing got born too.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, I'm really happy with Grant Morrison on that, Klaus. I have a love-hate relationship with him, and this one I'm really loving.
I'm happy to hear that you're enjoying the White Knight.
I really am. And
Such a good twist.
It is. It really is. And it's like we're halfway through, and it's like, you can kind of see where the story is going, but he's done a really good job of keeping you guessing. Because, I mean, Batman can't come out bad at the end of this, right?
Hopefully not.
Right, because he's not looking too good right now. So, and I think that's why I like it. It's because, someone has finally painted Batman in that, I guess, quote, quote, bad light, and it was done really good. I mean, is that Scott Snyder who's doing this?
No, this is not White Knight. No, it's Sean Murphy.
That's right.
Oh.
I say he's done a really good job on this one, down to even the Joker, and I say I like the way he cleaned things up, and they've really just switched shoes.
Cool. Les?
Well, this past weekend I picked up 2 of the books for the number 1 club and thoroughly enjoyed them. Jupiter Jet is one that we had talked about before. I think it was even included in one of our Kickstarter programs. And we were all looking forward to seeing what this was going to be. The other was Monstro Mechanica that kind of took me by surprise. I'm not throwing you under the bus, Thomas, but this was one that you had looked at and decided upon for the run. This is a really, really good book. And not only is the story intriguing, but the art is pretty exquisite. We sat and read this one Sunday, and my response was sign me up for both of them immediately, because I wanted to see how these went along, how they fared out.
Yeah, Mikey would like Monstro Mechanica.
I think so. The other thing I picked up was The Last American Vampire by Seth Grahame-Smith, the man that brought you Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. And this one is, in particular, a sequel to Abraham Lincoln Vampire Killer. So I've just begun a bit of it to get a little of the background. It concerns one of the characters from Abe Lincoln. But this is set many years in the future from Lincoln's story. He is a vampire that has survived. He was also a partner to Lincoln to defeat a coven of vampires. So I'm pretty excited as to see where this one goes. So hopefully I'll have a review for you here on one of the casts later.
That sounds pretty cool to me, honestly.
Yeah. For me, I've been catching up on trades. I actually came across one that I had forgotten I had. So I went back and read it. It was the collection of the very short-lived Joker series from the mid-'70s. And it was kind of funny to kind of read it again, because you're thinking, okay, here's a villain who's a star of his own book, but with DC having to deal with the Comics Code Authority and all that, it was more, they kind of played more of the clown side and that kind of thing. And of course, every issue had to end with him being caught and going back to jail. And then, of course, the following issue, he broke out of jail again. And so, the stories were written by Denny O'Neil, who's one of my favorites. And it was awesome, actually, to see Irv Novic's art. He did most of the run, if not all of it. And it was just kind of great to see that artwork again, because it had been so long. The other trade, I'm not quite through it yet, was one that I picked up. It's another one of the Epic collections that I kind of talked about a couple shows back. And this one's Daredevil, the Man Without Fear. And this is the first 20 or so issues of the Daredevil run. And the thing that I guess I didn't really realize about the early stuff was I always think of, when I think of early Daredevil, I think about Wally Wood and his art. Well, Wally didn't really join the book until issue 5. And I knew that because the first issue, the art was done by Bill Everett, so he's one that gets kind of credit for creating the character. But issues 2 through 4, the art's by Joe Orlando, which I never knew. And they actually make a notation. They actually did it in the comic when issue 5 came on. When issue 5 started up, it's like, we have a permanent artist. It's please welcome Wally Wood, and then he was actually only there till issue 11.
Permanent is relative.
Yeah. When he was replaced by Joe Romita, which I did not realize. I've seen Romita do Daredevil before, but I didn't realize he'd done a run on Daredevil. But yeah, he did from like 11 through, it's like 18 or 19, and then that's when Gene Colan took over, and then and I knew Colan's work from that time on. But it was just kind of, it kind of blew my mind. Just some of these artists that I was aware of, but that I did not associate them directly with the book. And of course, some of the villains were right there from the get-go. The Owl, Purple Man, which we've now seen on the Jessica Jones Netflix series. He was a Daredevil villain. And just some of the early ones, they were right there from the get-go. So it's been kind of a fun read, kind of going back and look at that. And you know what? I kind of have a fondness for the yellow and black costume that he wore for about 5 issues. It was like issue 6 or so. That he went to the red costume that we're all familiar with. And the thing is, he changed costumes. There was nothing. So, hey, look, new costume. There was no puff for it. All there was just a little line of dialogue in one of the panels saying, "Yeah, I've been working on this." Matt saying, "I've been working on this costume for weeks, and now it's ready," and that's it. Where if it's done today, there would be, "Hey, look, new costume, new attitude," or it would if they really would have pushed it. There was a costume change, and this was just, "Hey, change costumes, okay, let's move on."
They were hoping
It's kind of
people would
funny.
forget the yellow and black or something. I don't know.
I don't know. Well,
Would have had 6 covers,
Well,
well,
at least, yeah.
the thing I had read at some point about that was like they thought it was I'm not sure what the right word would be is the fact that, hey, here's a guy that's calling himself Daredevil and wearing a costume that's primarily yellow. It'd be ironic, I guess, the irony. So let's push the fact that, hey, he's Daredevil. Let's do a red costume and kind of push the devil side of it.
Right, because devils are red, right?
Right, of course. And of course, I guess we need to mention the Doctor Who Christmas special. Did you guys see it?
I missed it. I wanted to see it.
I know Mike didn't see it, but did you see it, Les?
I don't have cable.
No, I'm going to go back on demand and take a look.
It was a nice story. A lot of callbacks, not only through Peter's run, but just in the series run. It was a nice way for Peter to bow out. I mean, he gave a nice long speech at the end. The last lines he gave was like, "Run fast, laugh hard, something else, love something," and then he says, "I'm ready," and then that's when he transforms. I mean, it was a really nice little, because he was talking about, don't give in to hate, don't spend time hating. You need to love each other and that kind of stuff. It was a nice little speech. You knew it was written just for him to be able to say that. And I hate seeing Peter leave, but I'm definitely curious to see what Jodie and the new writers will be bringing to the show.
Yeah, because there's been a lot of, I won't say upset, but conversations about the new Doctor.
Oh, there's a lot about her, yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that because the new Doctor is female.
Right.
And, whatever.
Yeah.
Whether it's people thinking it's a Mary Sue thing or whatever, it's like, no, okay. It's happened. You don't have to like it, but it's happened.
If you like the show, then you should have faith in your writers.
Yeah.
Oh, but we're getting new ones, right?
New writers, new showrunner, all kinds of fun stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Should be interesting.
But as we have said before, let's experience whatever it is first before we can go, okay, this is bad.
Right. Can we please know what it is before we hate it? That would be great.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm not opposed to hating something, but damn it, I want to see it first.
Yeah. Let's find out if there's something there to hate.
I'd like to have a reason to hate it.
Yeah. Other than it's not my, my fill in the blank, which recently has been my Star Wars. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it was a nice episode, a lot of humor, a lot of callbacks, a lot of it hit a lot of nice notes. I did tear up quite a few times. But I'm an old softy. What can I say?
It's the time of year, emotions run high.
Mm.
Yeah.
When will the new episode start then?
They didn't say. It just ended kind of on a cliffhanger and say to be continued. But I have not seen any.
I've heard it's going to be quite a break.
Yeah, I knew. I heard something involving the Olympics, but I'm like, well, the Olympics are in February, so it'll be over by then. I mean, they could be They could at least be filming and getting things ready for, say, a summer run. But
Right.
you know, what do I know? You know.
Yeah. They're saying it'll premiere in the fall of 2018.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's way too long.
Yep. So it's going to
almost
be
a year, man.
quite a break. Yep.
Everybody's going to forget, about the 50-year-old show that they're watching.
Yep. That's about right. Okay. Before we get into this week's topic, take a couple moments to thank our sponsors. The fine folks at Things from Another World for sponsoring the Fellowship of the Geeks. Right now, they are running their evergreen deals, which are still pretty spectacular, which include 40% off comics, statues, toys, and merchandise, 30% off select pre-order manga titles, and 50% off Nick and Dent comics. So, that sounds like your deal. This is what you need to do. You need to go to our website, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, click on our sponsors tab, and you'll see information for Things from Another World, and you just click on those links, and that'll take you to their website, and that'll let them know that we sent you their way, and take advantage of those deals. Thank you, Things from Another World, for sponsoring the Fellowship. All right. It is that time of year where everybody starts looking back at what has been going on for the last 12 months, and we figured we would do the same. So this is going to be kind of a retrospective of 2017, and I'm just going to open it up to the floor and just let whatever y'all guys got. Go right ahead. Anybody.
I'll go.
Okay.
Well, when I was thinking end of the year, just some of the things that I enjoyed reading this past year, I guess one thing that I've collected and I've made sure I've gotten the trades of and almost all the covers of is I Hate Fairyland. I love Scotty Young. He's really great at the creepy cute, and he gave us the uncensored version of it, and it's just been a really cute, fun read, and like I said, it was the one thing that you always look forward to being into your pull box when you get there. Never disappointed. I love the artwork, the color work, the story. It's just, that would be my go-to for the year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it doesn't, I think at first, when it first started, it was just supposed to be like a little mini-series kind of thing. And I think people liked it a lot better than he thought they would, and it's even surprised him. But he says on Twitter he has no plans of stopping until they stop him. Wahaha.
Again, yes.
So, that would be my pick for 2017.
Good choice.
Yep. I think we've pretty much all said nice things about that book at some point in time during its run.
Yeah. I love Gertie.
Oh, it's so hard to feel sorry for her. But anyway.
It is. It really is.
I feel bad for Larry.
Yeah.
Poor Bug.
He's given up his whole life for her.
And for what? I mean, damn.
Well, you have to say it's been a fun ride, though. He has not been bored.
He has not been bored. That is true.
He's seen the whole kingdom at least 3 times now.
In various states of blood flowing and all of that, yeah.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
And then this last run with her trying to be good. That was kind of cute in itself. This is not her.
Yeah.
When's she gonna flip?
And literally nobody believing it.
Yeah.
Absolutely nobody believed it. Yeah. And rightly so, I think.
Right.
She's been
She
there a
has her
long
reputation. She has. But wouldn't that suck to be there for 30 years and stuck in an 8-year-old body? Yeah.
Yes. That would suck.
It would totally suck. I don't think I'd be all Sesame Street either.
Speaking of something that's 30 years old that's still children.
Yep, that's true.
So, it's a good reference.
Yeah. Alrighty. Anybody else want to go?
All right. So when I went at this in terms of I'm looking at shows we've done. So
Okay.
Stuff we've talked about before. Which, like I said, with I Hate Fairyland, that fits in perfectly with that. But, which it's also funny because Doctor Who was part of was one of the ones I listed. But I feel like we've kind of already talked about that, so that's cool. That's good. That's good.
Yep.
That's good. The one that, or the first one that jumped out at me, kind of jumped out at me in the form of a question. And the question is, did any of us break down and join the Movie Pass thing? Because I know we talked about it, and we all seem to think it sounded like a good deal. And I'm not the movie guy, so I didn't. I admit straight out.
In the last couple of weeks, I've looked at it, but I don't know what theaters, because I heard the theaters were having a problem with them and that kind of thing. But, right now they've got that bucket on sale for popcorn. So I thought, man, if you had the Movie Pass and bought that bucket, you'd be set. But I don't know which theaters in our area take it.
Right. No, I had not. And it's funny that you brought that up because I did see that it's doing phenomenally well. I was giving an article it was in the paper the last couple of days talking about that it's doing even better than it was when we first talked about it.
Yeah.
And of course I can't find it right now, but I had not. I really don't go to the movies. The couple of times I have gone this year, I've gone with Wes, and we were doing the AgFest. So those are
those movies may not be covered.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I have a neighbor across the street that goes to the movies at least 3 times a week. I mean, he's seen Justice League now like 5 or 6 times, and if it's Marvel, even more. So I told him, I said, maybe you should look into that. So we have a guinea pig. I think I talked him into trying that, and if he tells me it's a good deal and people in the area take it, then I'll probably do it just because it's cheaper than a movie ticket, even if you only use it once a month, Right.
And see, one of the catches that we discovered when we were researching it was that, like, for example, Justice League, you could only go see that once on the Movie Pass.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's
so maybe
that's
it
kind
wouldn't
of
be helpful for him.
It might not be good for him since he's a multiple watcher.
Now, is it Justice League one time at that movie theater? Because he goes to Firewheel, and then he'll go to Mesquite, and then he'll go to Garland. So I can't even say he uses the same movie theater all the time.
Hell, I don't know. It was 3 months ago when we talked about this.
But even that, as someone like me, I'm so introvert that I don't want to go see a movie more than once. I'd rather see it once, get the big screen experience, than buy the DVD and watch it at home.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm with you. I haven't been in a movie theater in 2 or 3 years because I just can't stand sitting with all those people.
I can't either. I've got my little bubble, and it's stay out of my bubble unless I know you. Mm-hmm. And then when I get to know you, hey, my bubble is your bubble.
Just passing bubbles around now, jeez.
Right? I'm a bubbly kind of person. One of the last movies I went to go see, it's when they released the Harley Batman. They did like the old 90s version and everything else. It was really awesome. But when we got there, I think it was Fandango that did the event. One night, one showing, that's it before it came out on DVD that Friday. The movie started an hour and a half late.
Okay.
They played, no previews. And part of seeing it on the big screen is they were supposed to show you kind of like a, not a behind the scenes, but kind of a background story on Harley. Well, when the show was over, since they started so late, they cut the show, they flipped on the lights and told us all to get the hell out of there. So it's kind of like, wait a minute,
Wow.
I could have watched the movie on the DVD. That's not what I had paid for,
Hell,
Plus
they might have the bonus thing on the DVD when you buy it, too. Who knows?
They probably do, But it was like, wow.
Jackasses.
It was bad. But
That's a shame.
that whole hour and a half, nobody came in there and told us anything. We had kids running around, screaming and everything else. So it was like, wow. People like me, I just wanted to get out of there before the show even started, But I wound up getting free movie tickets out of that deal, so.
Good.
Went and watched Justice League with them.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, the only problem is you have to go back to that theater.
Well, actually, no. Since Fandango put it on, they were
okay.
the one who issued the tickets, and I could have went to any, I think it was AMC that they used. So
Okay.
we went to a different one.
Good deal.
Yeah.
You found out about the unwashed masses that Mike keeps referring to.
I said it was pretty bad. And then I was kind of surprised at the amount of parents who brought kids to watch. I mean, it was a cartoon, but it wasn't a cartoon for kids,
Yeah, a lot of people don't make that distinction.
Right.
It's a cartoon. Must be for kids. We'll bring all our kids. Honestly, people show up to R-rated movies with a pile of damn kids anyway, so some people just don't make the distinction at all. Oh, it's a movie.
Right.
Let's go. Let's take the 3-year-old to watch Annabelle or whatever.
Yep. And while it was a Batman cartoon, it had Harley in it. So, like, Harley and Nightwing had their own little wow, chicken wow scene. So it's kind of like, wow. I brought my kid, but he was 20. So.
Did you still cover his eyes when the Bow Chickie Wow started? Or what?
No, but it was kind of one of those real uncomfortable moments, It's like, don't look at his eyes. Don't look at his eyes. Just keep looking at the screen, Pretend it's not happening. That's the way Deadpool was, too. Whew.
Yeah, but you had no say on that one.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd like to try Movie Pass, see if it's any good. Bring the train back on the track.
There you go.
Well,
Right
that's
off the rails in a crazy train.
Right.
Yeah. I kind of looked at this as kind of looking back at some of the titles that had come out this year that just kind of really struck me, and it was really tough. There was a lot of good books that came out this year. I think I'll just name off a couple, just kind of for the sake of being not taking up too much time. Super Sons from DC really lived up to my expectations. It's such a fun book. It's such well written, and the art's been great. I just knew the interaction between Damian and John would be fun, and it has been so far. But you can also see kind of them really starting to bond. So it's been funny. It's been fun. It's got a great heart to it. But I I'm looking at my list, and it's funny because most of them that I'm looking at that came out this year are that kind of really stuck out at me are miniseries. One of them, right off the top of my head, is Shirtless Firefighter. You know, when you first heard or saw that title, you're going, okay, got an idea what's going to go with, where this is going to go, and yes, it went that way, and it was great. It was such a great ride.
You're here.
Especially once they got pants on the guy. I mean, geez.
Yeah.
A little awkward at first there, but you know, they got some pants on him, and it was fine.
Well, actually, it was not a little awkward. It was big awkward.
There were a lot of pixels on those pages, I gotta say.
Yes.
But yeah.
Night Owl Society was another one.
I was just thinking that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, we had the writer James Benhouse with us on the show a while back. But that was a great little miniseries, and I'm just dying to see where we go from there because it was left somewhat open ended, so we can have further stories.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a mini-series, but I'm not sure how long this one can go, but I really don't want to ask because I don't want to know if it's going to end. But Dark Ark has been a really, really interesting book from Aftershock, written by our friend Cullen Bunn. Once again, it was a very interesting premise, and it kind of lived up to what I was hoping for. And, you know, that's all I ask for. You know, have an interesting premise, and hopefully you can live up to what I'm hoping for. And sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. But you were going to say something, Mike. Go ahead.
I was going to say I agree that Dark Ark is a lot of fun. I think it would be interesting to see how far they can go with it, because I mean, you'd think that with that story there would have to be an end somewhere, but I don't know. Whatever. They could definitely throw some curveballs.
Right.
But if we want to talk about Cullen Bunn stories, the one that I think threw us all by being completely. I mean, we were thinking it was probably going to be awesome, and it definitely shot well past any expectations I had. Anyway, was Regression, which was actually the book we talked with them about on our show.
That's right.
That was amazing.
Yeah, and I need to go back and read that.
I'd love to see more about that. I would love to see more of that. I'd love to see that continue. I don't know if it's going to or not, but very cool.
Well, I mean, when they solicited the trade, they said Volume 1, so why would they do Volume 1 if they are not expecting a Volume 2?
You know, I'm hoping. I really am.
Now, wasn't Dark Ark a comic club pick?
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. I've enjoyed that one too, and usually anything you guys suggest for me to pick up, I really enjoy reading.
Oh, we could give you one that you would shoot us.
Oh, we could probably come up with a list. I mean, come on.
I thought Thomas was going to shoot me the other day when I asked him to put giant killers in the pull box for me.
I wasn't. I just.
He strongly advised against it.
I don't know about strongly. I just said, yeah, I don't know about that one.
Right. Now I'm curious to read it to see how bad it is.
Well, our first choice for the club was so horrendous.
Yeah.
That I know that you would take us to the back and slap us around.
Right. Well, I noticed that one didn't make it into my pool, so.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing with that one being so bad and that one being the first one is, yeah, it goes up from here.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's true. It can only get better.
Ever the optimist. Gosh.
Yeah. But I think you guys have made some really good picks. So I would suggest to people who haven't really maybe read a lot of comics or anything else, to find a local comic book store and places that are doing like what you guys are doing, and it's not from like DC and Marvel, so it kind of gives the readers something else to read and not always a superhero. So I've really enjoyed that.
Well, I mean, there's a percentage of people out there that just are not interested in superhero books, and that's fine.
That's true.
But it doesn't mean that you can't read comics, because there's so much more to choose from.
There is,
Oh, yeah.
especially now with brands like Boom and Image that are giving us something different than your superhero in tights. It's kind of like your inner superhero. As corny as that sounds, and I think for me, I enjoy reading those stories more because you can almost relate to them more, because you don't have to get bit by a spider or have your parents die to be super.
Hey, those are great ideas for plots. Hey.
Right. They're mine first. I have them copyrighted.
Oh, rat.
Good luck with that.
Right. It was the radioactive parents who died. There we go. Brand new.
Oh, wow.
Okie dokie. Wait, I
I
can't wait to
want
see
to
issue
look
1 of
at-
that.
Yep. That'd be a good story. Return of the living parents,
What were you saying, Les?
Right. Next.
And good night, everybody.
Go home.
Thanks for tuning in. Same bat time, same bat channel. No, I was happy on our broadcasts when we would look at the Kickstarter programs. That opened up so much to me.
Yep.
And it is so cool that people can be involved like that. And yes, you get free stuff,
Yep.
but you can also donate without receiving the free stuff. But it is so neat to every once in a while go through there and just find stuff that you'll really, really are intrigued by and want.
I found a lot of my webcomics are putting stuff on Kickstarter now to get books and stuff published. So that was kind of interesting, too.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd never really thought to look through those till you guys told me to.
Well, I mean, we kind of stumbled across it the same way. I mean, we just did it a year and a half ago. I couldn't tell you right now which one of us even came up with the idea the first time.
Yeah.
Right.
Could have been any of us. Who knows? But
I have a friend who makes games, so I constantly see, his Kickstarters and, hey, support my friends and that kind of thing. I guess it just never dawned on me that comic books would be on there, too. Usually you think Kickstarter, you think the latest baby bottle or earplugs or, comics is usually one that you think would be there.
right, like spray on hair or something like that.
Right. Flashing eyelashes. Which, sad enough, they do have those.
I totally believe you.
Yeah. I'd have a seizure before I even got halfway through the door,
All right, there's our first epilepsy joke of the night.
I'm glad somebody stepped up and recognized that.
Yeah. We've talked about it already, but I think White Knight should be on one of the best stories coming out of 2017 also. Just because it's different, It is a superhero story, but it's just kind of one of those opposite Elseworld stories,
Don't be surprised if that is up for an award at the end of the year.
Yeah. I would believe it. Just the artwork and, like I said, the story, it's just been really good.
Yes. I do have a feeling it will be up for an Eisner or something of that nature.
Yeah. And if not, it's a damn shame because it's a good story.
I agree. It's a very strong story.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's one that almost people have been scared to tell. You know? You can't make Batman look a certain way. I mean, look what they did with the movies when they kind of veered off of that. So to take a comic book and turn him completely on his head and fans be like, yes. It's been really good.
Yeah.
Kind of like I said about Fairyland, it's one that I'm excited about when I know it's going to be there when I pick up my comics, you know?
Understandable.
Yep.
Even the main book has been really strong this year. Tom King's Batman has been really, really good. The War of Jokes and Riddles, that got me back into Batman again because I picked up the first couple issues of that storyline, and I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Ooh,
And then how, what?
Shit done got real.
Yeah. And then how he's handled the romance from with Bruce and Selena.
Yeah.
I just read number 37 a couple of days ago, and it's a great issue. If y'all out there have not read it, it's
Is that the Super Friends?
it's Super Friends. Yeah, it's called Super Friends Part 2, but it's a double date. It's Bruce and Selena and Clark and Lois, and they were actually going to this amusement park, but it was like superhero day, so they had to dress up like superheroes.
So Clark dressed up like Batman and Bruce dressed up like Superman?
Exactly.
They did,
And Lois dressed up like Catwoman, and Selena dressed up like Lois Lane.
Yeah.
But it's really just them going on rides and just talking to each other about their relationships. So there's really no fighting. There's nothing. It's just a nice little drama, and it was great. And you don't really see a lot of that kind of stuff in it's very few and far between, especially in a Batman comic.
Yeah.
And it was so well written. It's with that, and then the Batman annual, which came out a few weeks earlier. I'm really hoping this is not a stunt. I really hope Bruce and Selena do get married, because I could see some really strong potential stories coming out of this.
Yeah.
Especially if Tom's writing them. But we'll see.
Because before Rebirth, I mean, Batman's my man, and before Rebirth, the story was so bad, and it was just, it's nice to see what they've done after Rebirth with him. They've given him more of the story that he deserves than he has amnesia and Gordon running around in a suit, and, we needed some good Batman stories.
I'd also like to tip my hat to Marvel for attempting to get storylines done in their big events and not necessarily falling all that far behind in some of the titles.
This is pretty backhanded praise.
Right. It's constructive criticism.
I'm sorry, but I've been on the soapbox before on this one, so.
No.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, how late was D23?
And have you guys seen the long list that Marvel's about to cut?
Yes.
I mean, ouch.
Mm-hmm.
What was your question about?
And of course, they're blaming us fans for that because we don't like diversity, and we're
just
all
hate fun in
bigots
general,
Yeah, so. Which kind of, I'm curious. Do you think that's what's made Marvel's decline? Is the way that they keep throwing it back to the fans?
The social justice. Well, well, see, the thing is, from what I had read, is that was a comment. Yes, David Gabriel made that comment, But he was saying that as that was what he was told from a retailer, from what some of the reports that I had read. But somehow in translation, it's got twisted where that they are blaming readers are not wanting all these changes and wanting more diversity in the comics.
Right.
Now there is that attitude out there. I
there
get,
is. I think part of the problem was it's not that we didn't want this diversity crammed down our throat that they were doing. It's you were taking these beloved characters that people have history with, and like, Bruce Banner, killing him off, it was kind of one of those, oh my God, So it wasn't ease us into this new character. It's we're going to kill this guy and you have to accept the new guy, And like Thor, I didn't have a problem with Thor being a female. I had a problem with her taking the name Thor, but us not even finding out what Loki said to him that made him unworthy. So it was kind of that transition there. They never explained to us, or if they did, I lost interest and didn't hear it. But
yeah, it was it was eventually explained in the Unworthy 4 miniseries, and I forgot exactly what the deal was.
Yeah,
my problem with that, my problem with the whole thing with that was no one has, to my knowledge, has explained how Jane Foster got to the moon to get the frickin' hammer.
Right.
It's like, okay, you explain that to me, and the rest of it I'll buy. But no, until then. But yeah, the whole thing with Jane getting the hammer, the hammer says, whoever is worthy can possess the power of Thor. Obviously, the hammer deemed her worthy.
Yeah.
My only question is because she was right there from the beginning, and she's never thought about even trying to pick the hammer up.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of, we're going to do this because we need a female, and, if you guys don't like it, then they called us a bunch of bad PC words. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And it wasn't that we cared that it was a girl. We just cared that you gave us crap and pretty much told us to accept it. There was no explanation.
Well,
there
this
was
is
no.
What you asked for.
Yeah.
No,
well,
asshole, it isn't what I asked for.
Right.
Well,
but there were just big holes in that story to get to the female being in Thor's suit. Well, all for more females.
Yeah.
But
I would say, and I've said this in the past. I mean, it's funny because this whole particular issue popped up in my Facebook memories within the last couple of weeks or so. I made a comment. I don't have a problem with there being a female Thor, but the thing is if you want to do a female, basically a female version of Thor, well, you know what? You've got Lady Sif. Why didn't you use her?
Right.
Why didn't you do Valkyrie? Why didn't you do that kind of thing? They're piggybacking on a known quantity in Thor, and then let's just make it female. That will appease. That's going to appease some readers. And hey, there you go. You got it was a shortcut.
And a lot of it too, I think they're like, we're going to piss people off so bad that they're going to buy the comic to find out what they're pissed off about, and that's the shock value. I think is what Marvel's been reaching at a lot here lately. Let's shock them so they'll buy it, so they can be outraged. But
so you're banking on hate readers.
Pretty much.
Well,
that's a very dangerous road.
If that's their thinking, then they're wrong, because if people are not going to like it, they're not going to buy it.
Right.
They're certainly not going to spend $4 for something they're already upset about before the book comes out.
But they will at first. You
some
have
of them will.
Idiots like me who I'll buy the first 3 issues of a series just to see if it's any good.
Some of them are idiots.
Not me.
Well, I mean, there's to be some people who say, hey, I'm curious to see what will they go with it. That's one thing. Yeah. But if you're already on the mindset, no, Thor's always a male, it's always Odin's son, No one else can have the hammer. Well, first off,
the
you're
hammer's
wrong.
not just a hammer.
Right.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
First off, you're wrong because we've had an alien space horse carry the damn thing. So it's not just.
They call him Thor while he did it.
Boy,
I don't know if they called him Thor, but I mean,
Beta Ray Bill just can't get
Beta
it.
Ray Bill just. He got the hammer and he used it for a bit until Odin created a hammer especially for him. So,
because it had his initials on it.
Now, see, that was just the thing that he was saying he would be right back.
Yeah.
So he left Mr. Ed in charge.
But if there's people out there that just go, oh, this is gonna be crap, I hate the idea of that kind of stuff. They're certainly not gonna spend the $4.
Oh, see,
Right.
those jackasses aren't buying it in the first place, so
Well,
they're just
that's
hating
true,
anything
too.
that comes out. They're just like, oh no, I hate that. But you don't
That's
even know
true.
what the it is, you moron. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the hate readers are the one that buy it and like, look at this,
Can you believe this shit?
Right, Now I'm gonna go burn it after we already gave them our money. I mean,
Yeah, dumbass. Guess what? You lost. That's the
Right.
way that works. You're out
Yes, you're
$4.
I don't care if you read it, you burn it.
Right, as long as they get their money,
Right?
they're good.
Yep. And I think by the time the book is shipped to the retailer, they have their money.
Oh yeah, entirely, because that's where they're getting their money from. That's where their sales come from.
Yep.
It's the retailers buying them, which is as broken a system as I've ever seen. But
Yep.
anyway,
Plus, I think they capitalize on #1 issue, first ever. How many times are you going to reboot it and sell it as a #1? With 12 shiny foil covers and Hugh Jackman drawing the 5th cover. I mean, it's just all gimmicky here lately. That's one good thing that 2017's been good for.
by lately you mean the last 25 years, right?
Right. But like he was saying about Daredevil, it used to not be this big production. Now it seems like, oh, Batman sneezes in issue 50. We've got 20 covers for the commemorative issue. I mean, come on, Normal arcs now becoming,
Well,
yeah.
Thomas and I saw today that there is an issue coming out, and it has 9 variant covers.
Man.
For what?
Well, when Betty and Veronica came out, didn't it have like 26?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and there were some good artists that did covers, don't get me wrong, but golly, 26 covers?
Well, wasn't it Justice League of America that
Did 50?
did 50 for like one for
Every state.
Wow.
Was it Avengers did that too.
Yeah, somebody did 50 for.
But I think the Justice League did like, I don't know if it was state flags or country flags or something like that.
Yeah.
But they did
State flags. It was state flags, because I got that set.
Yeah. Well, Avengers did it too because they had one for like each state, and then had an Avenger that was kind of somehow tied to that state.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because there was also some extra rare ones where they had like Captain Britain. I'm like, okay, Captain Britain's not a. It's not.
He's not from any state.
He's not
from any state.
That was the one they stuck on the state that didn't have absolutely any ties to anything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I remember that because we got Texas Ranger. I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess I should have expected that.
Yeah.
Saw that coming a mile away.
See, and I guess I'm guilty of playing into the hype too, because like when they do the Looney Tune covers, I'll pick up issues I don't even read for the cover, But I think sometimes it's nice when it's not a normal thing, but every week when you go in and somebody's got 5 different covers, I mean, it comes to a point where it's just not special anymore,
I think we hit that point like somewhere in 1994, though.
Right.
It's just, yeah, okay, fine. You're rebooting. You're doing a number one. You're doing 15 covers.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever.
Which is really mean to people with OCD like me, because I have to have every 15.
Right, or
I have to have
collectors.
yeah.
Or people
you
who are
know.
like, I have to have the whole set. I don't care how many copies there are. Well,
Yeah.
that's you're picking on a specific group of your fans and
Yeah.
taking advantage of them, and that's all you're doing. You're not really giving them anything else for it. I mean, no knock on cover artists, they're great, but there's nothing else inside the book that's different. You're just screwing them out of the cover price for the cover. And that's kind of bogus, really.
Oh, and there was a comic that me and Thomas was talking about that they had, I think it was I Hate Fairyland. They had given it away at Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah.
And then in the next previews, it was like special edition for like $10. You could order the issue that they gave away at Free Comic Book Day. So it was kind of like, why would they do that? I mean, order me one, but why would they do that? So,
yeah,
because they knew you wanted one. That's why.
Because they knew that those things disappeared like in 10 minutes on new comic book day, or on Free Comic Book.
Free comic, yeah.
And so they knew there was a market there, and people wanted that, and so they added a few extra pages and slapped a new cover on it, and yes.
That was the kick. I don't even think it was a new cover.
It may not have been. I don't remember, but
I think they just took off Free Comic Book Day, and
and then added pages.
Yep. Yeah. And $10 on the cover.
There you go.
But, something like that, once again, I'll collect it just because, like I said, I've made a point to get the trades and everything else I can in that series. But at what point do you realize they're gouging us for covers?
That's on day one.
Yeah.
Right. Most people do realize it, and they do it anyway, like you. So.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm in there with you, Liz.
That's what makes what Alterna's doing pretty special. By doing, here's a book. It's in newsprint, so it's a cheaper price for us to make it for you, and it's cheaper to where you can buy it, and you can buy several books, and here you go.
Right. Buy as many copies as you want. Give it to your friends. Do yada yada, whatever.
Right. Yep. Well, and like Klaus, though, it's printed on better quality paper than what comic books are, and like I said, the cover's a little bit harder, but they're not charging you for that. It was still a big, pretty hefty issue, I think, for what, $5?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. And I don't know, I guess a lot of, you make a lot of stuff up in your head, but I see that kind of as Morrison, and I think it's Riviello or Dan Mora that's working with it on them. They kind of take pride in what they're doing. And more of, I want to give you something nice than I want to pick your pocketbook clean, I'm sure there was alternate covers, but I would have bought them.
But yeah, and you're also talking about the difference between the whole creator-owned thing and the big two.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a distance there, and there's two different kind of concepts going there.
Yeah.
And
well,
I'm not going to sit here and say one's right and one's wrong, but it's just different. There's a different mindset going into it.
Yeah, but usually on the off-brand, that's not the big two. Do you remember back in the day when you could flip through the TV and you could always tell the soap operas because the quality of the filming? That's usually what you expect on a secondary publisher. Or I say secondary, but, like, not the big two.
Right,
but some of them, I mean, they really step it up. Yeah.
I mean, Image has gone a long way to change that, and
I was about to say
as well. I mean, Dark Horse has been around for years too, and IDW.
Yeah,
they've gone a long way towards changing that, and they've been good at controlling quality. Along the way, and so those books just look just as good. Some of them look better.
They do. Yep. But I think with Image, I think Walking Dead really picked them up quite a bit. I mean, how long has that been running now?
More than 10 years.
Yeah. And I think that's one where people got interested in the TV show and then got interested in the comic book. To where now the story's completely changed, you know. I think the next one coming out is like a New World Order, so we're about to see a big shakeup. And I blame a lot of that on the TV series. I think the TV series has ruined my comic book.
Well, we have talked about that too, where people come into the store and they've seen Avengers and they want the Avengers comic, which has nothing to do with the movie.
None.
And as a result, people are upset.
CW is pretty good about doing, okay, we've made an Arrow, so instead of a Green Arrow comic book, they give you an Arrow that's based on the TV series. So you can kind of make some of those fans happy, like the Riverdale.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't read it, but I heard it follows pretty closely with the TV show and stuff, you know. But to me, I'll always be an Archie reader.
Well, and you can still read Archie. It's still there. The
Yep.
Riverdale thing is they've kind of spun that off and created it as a separate thing.
Yep.
So that it's not peeing in the gene pool.
Yep. But when you have those people who come in, oh, this is my favorite TV show. Well, boom, there you go. You know.
Yep.
Which is why I don't know why they won't use them in the movies. Use that fan base. You know. Some of them have a crazy fan base. I know because I'm in them.
Our local rep.
Right.
Alrighty. So, nice discussion of 2017.
And we didn't even go to the movies.
We did. We talked about 2017. We just kind of wandered off into the weeds a little. That's all.
Right.
That never
Surprise, surprise.
No,
Yeah.
that never happened.
These are the things that have irked us in 2017. Yeah, but we did. We threw out some good stuff, and I wrote down a couple that you guys mentioned because I missed those during the year. So, yay!
Cool.
We'll try to bring you to the light.
Mm-hmm. I was promised cookies too.
Oh, well, Les will have to take care of that.
Skype installed those when you opened up the program.
Oh, that's right.
That's true.
I kept telling it that chocolate chip was my favorite, and it wouldn't take that. I don't like pixel cookies.
Oh, damn it, you'll take oatmeal raisin and you'll like it.
No, that's when they surprise you. Oh, it's chocolate chip, and you bite into it, and it's oatmeal raisin.
Well, it could be worse. It could be a chocolate-covered pretzel.
No, that ain't right.
No.
That ain't right.
They could tell you that those are flies on top, too.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, almonds. Anyway.
Dwayne almonds?
Oh, too soon.
Ooh.
Wow. If we could, I'd like to just state that we did lose several artists and creators
Yep,
this past year, which is pretty sad.
it is.
And once again, we've made note on programs before, but we do want to issue the statement of we're sad about the loss, and our prayers go to the families.
Yeah. And very thankful for the footprints they left.
Yes.
Alrighty. Any final thoughts about 2017?
Goodbye.
Yep, goodbye.
Not that I can put into words.
Let's move on to 2018, huh?
Yeah.
Yep. 2018 is going to be bigger and better.
Yep.
You sound like a comic book.
I can't
Where's
imagine
your
how that
Snickers
happened.
Yeah.
Alrighty, on that note, we are going to take a quick break and come back with our weekly picks. And we're back. It's time for our weekly picks, and leading off is Les.
Well, this evening I'm going to start off with a Titan comic. This is Quarry's War, #2, written by Max Allan Collins and art by Szymon Kudranski. This is some really good stuff. Collins is the creator of Quarry, who he has written in several novels. This is not based on one of the novels. It's a freestanding story, limited series, but it is so good. You get to know Quarry, who is a Vietnam veteran. He becomes a private detective. So with Collins doing this, it's a lot of fun. Collins gave you Road to Perdition. He wrote Dick Tracy for a lot of years. So he knows his stuff, and now you get to turn to him for this series, Quarry's War. I read the first issue and loved it. So I'm looking forward to this one coming through.
Yeah, Collins is one of those guys that's been around a long time, and he's been writing mystery stuff forever, and he's really prolific. And so it's kind of cool to see him jumping into comics.
I agree.
Alrighty. Cool. Liz.
All right, my first pick, I'm picking the Jetsons. This will be #3 out of a short run of 6. Amanda Connor is doing the covers, and Jimmy Paul. I never know if I'm saying his last name right. Palmiotti.
Palmiotti.
Yeah, Palmiotti. Okay, see, I wasn't even close, but he's doing the story. Like I said earlier, this is one that kind of surprised me. I haven't really cared for the cartoon reboot comics, the Flintstones and Dastardly and Muttley, and I guess because a lot of them, I don't like them ruining my childhood. So this one was a really good read, though. Like I said, this will be the third one coming out. The first one, they've done really good to give you a background of like why they're not living on the ground and what each character is going to put into the story. So this one should be a pretty good one. It's not too far into it to where you can still get into it and finish the story out. I was pleasantly surprised on this.
Yeah, it's
not
like
my
they wrote
normal
it
pick.
for adults or something, huh?
Right? But it's kind of different enough to where it's not really messing with my original ideal of the Jetsons, Even the characters kind of look a little different, so.
Yep.
But I love anything Amanda and Jimmy do together. All but their last Charlie run, but okay.
They are a hit. Most anything they do is real strong.
Yeah.
This is a good story, too.
Yep. Okay.
See, I don't think Amanda's doing the artwork in it. I think she's just doing the covers for them.
Okay.
I forgot who the original... Riviello is the artist on it. Let me see if I'm saying that right. I'm sorry. No, it's Pierre Brito. Brito. He's the artist on the inside.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so I'm one of the times I'm glad I took my son to the comic book store. He recommended a good one.
Cool.
Oh, and that is DC.
Alrighty. Mikey.
All right. I got an image book this week. I'm going with Scales and Scoundrels, #5. This is kind of a cool little fantasy type adventure story. You've got a group of pretty diverse individuals who have kind of teamed up in order to kind of become adventurers and acquire great wealth and save the world. And it's kind of, but it's one of those that they've got kind of all the neat fantasy tropes nailed down, and then it's also really cool for dialogue because the dialogue's it's very modern dialogue type style, and it just kind of works really well. It's I like it. It's very cool. It's kind of right up right in my wheelhouse too. But that's okay.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, shocking, right? I like a fantasy book. It's scary.
Right.
And the image.
Well, and there's that.
Yeah.
Well, now you notice that she made the comment and not me.
She's learning.
Yes.
I know now to skip over the image titles because more than likely you've picked it.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, that hurt.
we like some. Hey, that wasn't a put down. That just means we like a lot of the same stuff. So.
Beep, 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 beep.
Yeah, it's a different bus route today, and this one's coming at me. All right, fair enough.
You have good taste,
Yeah, that's where that was going. Sure, we'll go with that.
It's fair, totally.
Aye.
Alrighty. Wow. I gotta follow that. For my first pick, I'm going with IDW Publishing, and it's Star Wars Adventures, Forces of Destiny, Leia. This is the first of 5 one-shots that focuses on female characters from the Star Wars saga. Obviously, this one's Leia, but there will be one on Rey, one on Padme and Ahsoka, one on Hera, and then Rose and Paige from the brand new movie The Last Jedi. These look really cool, and these are all ages tales, so it would be a nice little start for the younger generation, because obviously IDW's been doing these Star Wars adventure books, and those have been fun. So I hope these do well, and who knows, we may get some more of those. I know there's like Forces of Destiny like videos, but I have not checked those out.
The artwork looked really cute on that.
Yep. Alrighty, let's go up again.
Okay. For my second choice, I'm not going too far. I'm still in Titans Comics, and this is one of their hardcore mystery books again. Minky Woodcock, The Girl Who Handcuffed Houdini. This is issue number 2. I read the issue prior, loved it, about a young girl whose father owns a detective agency. He has gone away, so she assumes the mantle of the business. She gets her first customer in. It is the creator of Sherlock Holmes. He has the mission for Minky to follow Harry Houdini, because he believes Houdini has a problem about the contacting the dead. This is something that the two of them constantly argued about. So Minky is hired to look after, and at the end of issue 1, she ended up becoming the assistant of Houdini. So we're going to press forward with that, and like I said, it's been a good read. The art has been good. Find it if you can.
Cool.
Yep. Another
Nice.
fun mystery story.
Yep. Alrighty, Liz.
All right. My second pick is Van Helsing versus Robin Hood. This comes out of Zenescope. It's a 1 of 4 story. I actually did a review on this, so hopefully by the time this comes out, it'll be posted. But they've taken 2 of their characters from Grimm Fairy Tales, which I absolutely love the series. But they've taken 2 of their main characters, and it's kind of becoming a hunter becomes the hunted. Some whack job is doing designer drugs where he's turning humans into vampires. And so, without giving too much of the story away, they kind of get put on the same lead from different paths. So I'm kind of curious how this is going to go. 4 issues means the story's going to move really quick. And I think Tedesco is doing this one without Brusha this time, but he tells a really good story. So 4 issues. Like I said, hang on to your seat. This should be a good one. But the first issue does come in 5 covers. I know I was griping about that earlier, but Zenescope always does these really beautiful covers. And now that we have 2 of their most gorgeous female characters, the covers are just amazing. So if you don't like the story, I know you'll love the covers.
Yep. I thought about doing this one too, so.
Yep.
I
love Grim Fairy Tales.
Yep. And they've been doing, this is like, they've had a string of Van Helsing mini series lately, and a lot of them have been really good.
Yeah. I think the last one I read was their steampunk one that they did. And I loved that one. And they're so great of taking something that you're familiar with and just kind of really twisting it to where you get something different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of what they started out doing with the whole Grimm Fairy Tales thing.
Yep.
Taking Grimm's Fairy Tales and kind of turning them,
which are already twisted anyways.
Right, kind of turning them back into horror stories, which is kind of nice. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. And Les, didn't you tell me a TV series was based off of these? Or is that the other
Tales?
Or is that the other Fables?
There was Once Upon a Time, which was really based on Fables.
Was it Fables? Okay.
When they were trying to sell Fables, the TV company said, "No, we're not interested." The minute they walked out the door, the TV company said, "Yeah, we're interested. Let's do it ourselves."
Let's do it ourselves.
Charming.
Yeah. But yeah, anything. I think Zenescope is basically, isn't this like their flagship title? Kind of what they started their company on, and
yeah,
so
yes,
yeah,
it's been a
Fairy Tales.
Yeah. So they can tell a good story.
That we can.
Yep. Like I said, the artwork is always just beautiful on these covers. And I think they're kind of known for that, so I don't mind it so much when they do it. But I always love that they give you different covers.
Alrighty, Mikey.
Okay. I've got another image title. Shut up.
I'm not saying it.
I'm saying it.
Oh, right at the pass.
I know. And this is one that has been around a while and I've talked about a few times before. Birthright 29 is coming out this week. And I'll be honest, I'm bringing this up just because I don't think I've mentioned Birthright in a little while. And originally it is the story of a kid who disappears while playing with his dad, and then reappears a year later, fully grown up. And he's this super badass fantasy warrior dude, and he's fighting these horrible demon creatures, and it just has just gone wild from there. And there's just so many layers to this story. It's not even funny, and it's always awesome. And at this point, we're like, this is like the next to last issue of this arc that we're in, and there's just a lot of stuff that has gone on before. So it's one of those, you might want to back up an issue or a couple of issues, just sort of catch where you're going, but it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
Yep, this has been a pretty cool series. Joshua Williamson writing, and is it still
Andre Bassan? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Sure is.
Cool. Alrighty, for my second pick, I'm going to DC, and this is a collection of Suicide Squad, but this is Suicide Squad: The Silver Age. This is a collection of the 1960s team, which there may be people out there that don't realize that Suicide Squad was actually a team back from the 60s. That the whole super villain concept actually was created in the 80s by John Ostrander. But this collects stories from Brave and Bold 25 through 27 and 37 through 39, plus Star Spangled War stories 110, 111, 116 through 121, 125, 127, and 128. I have never read these, so I'm curious to read these stories, and it's written by Robert Kanigher and Howard Liss, with some great names doing art: Ross Andrew, Mike Esposito, Gene Colan, and Joe Kubert. So it's going to look great. The stories sound like they're going to be pretty cool, and it'd be nice to kind of see the original Task Force X.
Who was the original Task Force?
Johnny Storm, who was the PT boat captain. Lieutenant Storm. Yeah, Johnny Cloud, Gunner and Sarge. The Haunted Tank, I think, was one of them. Is that right?
I'm trying to see right now. Those you mentioned are the losers, if I'm not mistaken.
Losers.
Well, that was the name of the group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, legit. That was what they were called.
Legit.
They're the ones that got their heads blown off.
Never mind.
See, I like Suicide Squad, but I don't think I've read any of their older stuff.
Well, I know Rick Flag was one of them because he was actually leading the team. So that was a carryover. Yeah, it's Rick Flag, Jess Bright, Dr. Hugh Evans, and Karen Grace.
Yep.
That is the team from 1959 to 1987.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Yes, I'm sure you were.
I knew that as soon as you said it.
Yeah, once you told me, I had it down. I knew it.
Yeah.
So, alrighty, what is our honorable mention this week?
Our honorable mention this week is the Volume 1 trade for Generation Gone, which, yes, is an Image title. And we've talked about this one before. Yeah, we've talked about this one quite a bit before. But this is the trade collecting issues 1 through 5. Near future, 3 young hackers are basically sort of working together, try to get their skills down. They hack into something, and somehow, unbeknownst to them, they, have superpowers. And we kind of find out in the background that it's kind of sort of a government program, but not really. There's very shady things, some very shady stuff going on there. And these 3 kids have to try to figure out how to basically live with superpowers and deal with each other and deal with others. And there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's very cool. Very, very good story, very powerful. No pun intended.
Agreed, though. It is pretty good stuff there.
I haven't read it. Kind of sounds like Umbrella Academy in a way.
She may have a point.
Maybe.
Boy, there's a positive yes. I've never heard one.
I mean, both would be a good story, you know.
It is a good story.
Yeah. Just listening to his description kind of reminded of Umbrella Academy.
Cool. Alrighty. Any special shout-outs this week? Other than Happy New Year, and hope that 2018's a great year for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I don't think I can back that up.
Yep. Nope.
Okay.
Just
all right.
Arrive alive, and Mad does free rides home.
But what if I am home?
Yeah, I had to throw that in there. Sorry.
All right.
Yeah, no worries.
Yep.
Good thought.
Alrighty, well, let's go ahead and do our regular shout-outs then. First off, Manny the Martyr, thank you for the awesome music that we use for our show. Definitely, you need to go check out their music. We'll have a link in the show notes, or you can go to our website, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. Click on the podcast page. You will see their logo. Just click on that and go check it out. Thank you guys very, very much. The fine men and women that make up Potter and Family on Twitter, thank you very much for retweeting our links to our podcast. You should go check them out. A lot of good shows out there. All you got to do, just kind of explore. Just go to Twitter. Don't necessarily have to have an account. And do a search. Hashtag Potter and Family. That's all one word. And knock yourselves out. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. Thank you for checking out our previous episodes. We always value your feedback. If you'd like to contact us, whether it's question, comments, complaints, whatever, just let us know. There are several ways you can do that. Email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, or you can go to the website and click on the About Us tab, and there's a form there you can fill out. Been getting a lot of that recently, and thank y'all very much for doing that. Mm-hmm. You can always contact us through social media. We are on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. That's all one word. And we are obviously on Twitter, at Fellowship Geeks. Feel free to follow us from either sites. And you can also follow us individually. We have our own, three of us have our own individual Twitter accounts. Mike can be found at Mikey Geek. Liz can be found at Newman_L, and that's NEUMANN_L. And I'm at Tom TC Geek. Feel free to follow us there. That would be much appreciated. And wherever you download or listen to our episodes, whether it's iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and hopefully very, very soon, we're crossing our fingers and hoping and praying, on Spotify, if you could rate our shows, whatever rating system they provide you there. And if you have a couple extra moments, review would be awesome. It would be much appreciated. Did I forget anything?
I think that's it.
Okay. Any final thoughts before we say goodbye to 2017?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate you listening. Hope to see you next year.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you once again, everybody, for listening, and we do appreciate your support. Happy New Year. Hope to hear you. Hope to have you here again for 2018. Until next time, read more comics and support your local stores. We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,